Good afternoon, everyone. It is 4 p.m. here on the Eastern Seaboard, and I'm thrilled to be introducing you to Andrew Fogliato of Just Sell Homes for this Maintaining Momentum webinar on Thursday, April 9th. I see everyone joining very quickly. The participants list, the number is jumping exponentially, which is fantastic. We actually had 1,300 people register for this webinar, which is an insane number. That's absolutely fantastic. And don't forget that we'll be recording this and posting it to our LP network afterwards. So if you have to scoot out, don't worry, you won't be missing a beat. Just wanted to bring your attention to the chat at the very bottom of the page. I see everyone saying hi, hello. So keep in mind, feel free to ask questions throughout. We want to keep this really interactive between you and Andrew. So please feel free to use the chat at the bottom of your screen and make sure that you toggle to all panelists and attendees, just so that the other people in this webinar can also see what you're asking. And no question is a dumb question. Please feel free to ask anything you have. Andrew is an absolutely fabulous resource. So with that said, I want to introduce you to Andrew. As I mentioned, he is the founder of Just Sell Homes, which is a real estate marketing agency. We are thrilled to have him here. Andrew is a fabulous speaker, and he's also, his company is a Royal LePage preferred supplier. So, not only do they manage social media marketing, drip campaigns, strategy, copywriting, Facebook ad management, Andrew brings his expertise from his time as an agent, formerly with Remax. Later on, he became a trainer with Remax, and then he decided that there was just such a high demand for these kind of services that he actually went out on his own and created Just Sell Homes. So thrilled to have him here, and I want to pass it over to Andrew to take the lead. Thank you.
So first thing, my last name is Fogliato.
Listen, it's Thursday afternoon and it's late, okay? It's right before a long weekend. I'm doing my best.
It's okay. My wife got it wrong for the first 2 years that I knew her, so.
Okay, I feel better then.
So if people have any questions, I'm happy to take questions throughout. I didn't do like a full scale like slideshow because one, slideshows over webinars are kind of boring, and two, I mean, everything's changing so quick with everything that it kind of not make a lot of sense to do a slideshow. Then 3 days later, everything might have changed. So kind of want to talk to you a little bit, basically what I'm thinking in my head coming into this, / have written down with notes of what I'm going to do, is kind of walk you through a bit of what we're seeing, kind of the campaigns that we're doing that's working. And then obviously any questions that you guys have, we can just go through those at any time. So yeah, if you have questions, let me know. And I see the chat's kind of blowing up, so I'm not even going to try to monitor it. But under the Q&A, we'll look at that one. But yeah, the chat looks like there's just a lot going on, and that'll just distract me. So I'm not paying attention to the chat. Hopefully the others are.
We are, don't worry, we've got it covered.
Perfect. So, I mean, the first thing that I kind of want to bring up is like, at the end of the day, like people keep asking us like, what would you change? What doesn't work anymore? And all that stuff. I mean, overall, we actually haven't changed a ton. For a lot of our clients that are getting great results right now, like we have one client as an example, downtown Toronto, which is normally the most expensive place to get leads, at 77 cents a lead. Like it's incredible how cheap, like these are the numbers I was seeing 5 years ago on Facebook that are coming through right now. You have to tweak the messaging to make it appropriate, but the overall strategy for us hasn't actually changed that much. And so like one of the things that's actually like not necessarily in the best way, but kind of a gift right now is like when you're looking at leads coming in, and the follow-up's the hardest part, is there's really only 2 timeframes for leads in a regular market, which is now or not now. Like even if someone, I'm sure we've all dealt with someone who's like, no, I'm going to move in a year, and then 2 months later they've moved, right? Like, so it's either they're moving now or they're moving not now. Except the beauty right now is we know the answer for everyone, which is not now. So we can go a lot more consistently with our messaging because we know everybody's in that not now group. So how we follow up with them is going to be a little bit different, as opposed to the like original, like maybe they're looking to move right now, but we know that with a few exceptions, the people just aren't going to be moving for a little bit. But one of the great things about this is like, we know people are going to keep moving. It's not like the world's going to change to the point that people aren't going to move anymore. So it's more about your focus for marketing overall is positioning yourself in a way that when you like the curtain gets lifted and you can start marketing and working again. And by that I mean like you can market right now, but I mean actually like getting out there and working again, that you're at the front of the line and you're seen as the person they want to go to. I mean, it's not a good thing, but there's going to be a lot of people who won't be in the industry after this. There'll be a lot of movement from like people who might have been really good before in terms of like number of deals they were doing, who are going to drop back a lot. And at the same time, there's going to be people who weren't doing a lot who are going to jump up. So you're like, anytime there's a lot of chaos and anything, you see a lot of movement. And I think that's going to happen now. So hopefully we can give you some like strategies and clarity on like the things you can do. So when that curtain is lifted, that you can kind of be at the front of the line. But I see there's already some questions, so we might as well.
Yeah, Andrew, we have some questions just from some of our agents in terms of tips for new agents. So agents that have just started out prior to the pandemic, those who perhaps don't have a database that's as built as some of the other agents within our network. And people are kind of unsure of how to approach people given the pandemic, and they want to obviously be sensitive to that. What should kind of newer agents be doing in terms of marketing?
So generally, it's almost the same as what I'd recommend almost everyone else do, which the most popular thing you should be doing right now is offering market updates, but framing it in a way where when you're offering these, it's like, hey, listen, we all don't know what's coming. Like no one right now can sit here and say, here's what's going to happen with home prices. Here's what's going to happen with sales. We don't know that. So all you can do is be like, listen, I will send you regular updates on what's happening. And I'll give you like the no fluff, no BS answers to what's going to happen going forward. Like as we see it happening, I'll give you those updates because everyone's curious. Like, is the market going down? Are sales still happening? What are prices doing right now? And you're going to go and offer them that information. And that's what people want. And you just keep pushing that out there to them of people still are going to need to move after. And we don't know which way the prices are going to go, how much it's going to happen. And then you can even say like, when it does open up, is it going to be a buyer or seller's market? We'll give you up-to-date information as it's going. And you just push that message out. And there's a million different ways you can push like that message out on different mediums. But at the end of the day, the strategy is still the same, which is I'm going to basically tell you unfiltered exactly what's going on as we're seeing it, because there's no way you can completely predict what's going to happen.
Totally. Totally makes sense. Thank you for that. Is there any other questions that we have from the group here? We have 503 people in here so far, so I'm sure there are a ton of questions.
Let's see one about how would you deal with leads that come in. I would actually deal with them the same basically as I dealt with them before, to be honest. I wouldn't change too much. If a lead comes in now, still talk to them, find out what their plans are, like go deep on like what their personal situation is and then help them out. I mean, yeah, you're not going to be like, hey, let's go meet in person. But outside of that in-person meeting, which you can just replace with a Zoom meeting or something like that, you're still doing the same thing. All you know right now is that whenever that date is that they move, it could be 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, a year out, but you're still building that relationship now. So just keep building it up and going from there. But I would just keep following up with them. Don't stop. I mean, people are more receptive to phone calls now. They're more receptive to having those calls. They're more receptive to Zoom meetings. Like I know before when I used to do my sales calls, like a lot of our sales calls have been done over Zoom in the past. And before this came out, like we have a lot of pushback from like people being like, I don't know that I want to go on Zoom. I'd be on video. Now everyone's like, yeah, let's do it. Let's chat. I want to, see somebody. So like people are way more receptive to that. And if you can have like a video chat with someone right now, it builds a really good rapport. So don't be afraid to jump. Zoom's free. Like there's a free version. I think it just caps calls at 40 minutes. But yeah, like jump on with calls with people. But the big one is find out what their situation is. And like, if they're thinking of selling their home, get them to like walk you around on video and show you the home. And you can start telling them things they can do to get it ready for sale. So you can start getting them ready. And again, you're just using the language when you're talking to them, like when the curtain finally lifts, you're going to be front of the line to go forward.
Awesome, thank you. So Karen Miller is asking, do you recommend doing ads for current listings that are available? She mentions that they've had some negative comments on the ads. Should they keep posting listing ads?
Yes. So we've obviously run a ton of listing ads during all this because like one of the services we have is just you send us a listing, we advertise it. So we have a lot of data. And what we've noticed is cost per lead is down dramatically. Like we were averaging for the first 2 weeks of March, higher than normal ad cost. That was like $5.50 a lead, which for us is high on a listing. And then the second 2 weeks of March, we were down to $1.92 on average. But what we've changed, and this is across most ads too, not just specific to listings, is you have to talk about what's going on in it. So if you are going to advertise a listing, because people understand that there's people who have to move, but where they're kind of a lot of those negative comments are coming from is if you don't mention that this stuff's going on. It's like, talk about like virtual showings are available, or if you want to see it in person, here's the things you will have to go through, and have that checklist there of like, okay, you have to jump on a Zoom with us. You have to do a virtual showing first. When a showing does happen, you're not going to be allowed to touch anything. There can only be 2 people max with no children. And like, you basically put all the criteria right there to show how seriously you're taking this. Because if you don't do that, then you're going to get negative comments. Little ones, we've also seen that, like, we have one of our campaigns we've done with a client of ours pretty consistently is have her go stand in front of the house and do a video. And that one got a lot of negative comments for being outside, even though it is social distance. Like, there was no one around her, but the perception was that she wasn't like staying inside. So we actually pulled that video. She went back to her house, filmed it in her office, and we just kind of like left space up right here, and then just like superimposed the outside photo of the house, and it's her in her office talking about the house. We just changed.
Hey, whatever works. People obviously are really sensitive right now. So one of the other questions that we had come in was about some of the ideas that we should be posting on social media. And I'm not sure if some of the people on this webinar are aware, but JustSellHomes and Andrew were actually running the Royal LePage social media channels from August until March while we were trying to fill a role on the team. And you guys did a fantastic job. And I think some of the things that you were really pushing were kind of how-tos and ways to stay sane when you're all, working from home, maintaining work-life balance, things to do with the kids, tips and tricks, and really creating that value.
Yeah. I mean, that's, you have to be the one promoting what's going on and like giving them reasons, like stuff to do. Like, one of the most popular posts we've seen across for a lot of agents that have had a lot of success is promoting the local businesses that are still open. Like, especially restaurants and bakeries and different things like that, that you can point to and say like, hey guys, look, this restaurant is still open. They're still available for ordering. So if you want to support a local business, go here, and you tag that restaurant, and that restaurant now is also sharing that to theirs. And we've gotten clients who are getting great engagement by just being there and promoting what's still open, who you can support, and what's going on in the community. That's
awesome. We also had one question come in, coming from a new agent. Is it okay to door knock and say hi to people? Of course, maintaining safe distance. And I would agree that's probably just because of the times. It's a bit of a sensitive thing. And I think people are just so nervous that I probably wouldn't recommend that. What do you say to that?
I wouldn't door knock at all. Like, I wouldn't do, like, the fact that our client like got a ton of negative comments just for standing outside with no one around her just on video. I think you'd get killed if you tried to go and door knock. I mean, plus there's a risk of like, you still have to touch like their doorbell. You got to like touch stuff, or like if there's a vestibule, you got to open that to go in. Like, I would not door knock at all right now. Like, I would maybe do like some forms of digital door knocking where you like hyper targeted Facebook ads to their neighborhood. Or, I mean, you could cold call. I mean, I'm not personally, I mean, I am biased, but I'm not a big cold caller, mainly because when I was in sales and I did it, I was terrible at it. But then I found things that work better for me. But yeah, I would not touch door knocking. But basically anything that's in person, that where you're seeing them like face to face, no matter how much distance you're putting, I would pull out of right now.
Right. And I certainly think from a Royal LePage standpoint, we're not permitting open houses. I would certainly think door knocking probably falls under one of the things that we don't recommend as well. Linda Delgado is asking, what are the best and most accurate sources for information to give customers RE housing market and sales activity? Linda's a new agent, so welcome, Linda. I think I'd probably say going to the local board.
Yeah, I mean, they all release their monthly stats, but I mean, the downside of that right now is a monthly stat is outdated like 3 weeks ago.
Right.
So like, I would just go like what I used to do when I sold is so when I used to sell real estate, up in Aurora, I got the local newspaper to actually give me an article every month of here's what's going on in the market. Except the Treb stats never came out in time for the deadline of when the article had to be. So honestly, I just went in and manually pulled them myself. Like I go into MLS in the back end, and for the area, so for me, it was the town of Aurora, I would just go and pull the stats manually that I needed for my thing. And it's a great way to actually learn, especially if you're a new agent. Like you should be taking every opportunity to learn that stats anyways. Like you should know that stuff inside out. So I would just say go on MLS and pull it yourself. If you need some help, like understanding that stuff, especially if you're new, talk to like your broker or someone experienced. I mean, everyone's sitting at home with time on their hands. Like this is the perfect time to get a mentor in the industry, in your office, outside of your office. Like literally like go to one of the Royal LePage Facebook groups and be like, hey, I want to pick someone's brain about X topic. I guarantee you're going to get people who are willing to help you out. Like I used to do that all the time. Like when I remember my first time we did like the agent caravan of agent open houses, someone's like, that agent is a rock star. Like they list like crazy. They're amazing at what they do. And everyone was like intimidated. I just walked up and said, hey, do you mind if I pick your brain about how you do what you do? And he ended up becoming my mentor. And all I did was just walk up and ask. So like, if you see someone who like look up to people in your office, like top producers, but top producers that you also want to have a business like, just ask them. And like 9 times out of 10, they're saying yes right now because they need stuff to do too.
Right. And something that I want to mention too is that obviously Royal LePage has a PR and communications department that works on releasing as many releases as possible. So there likely is a house price survey coming up that will also feed you with more information about various markets across the country. So keep a lookout for that.
The one thing on that note of like, anytime you're using someone's stats, don't just send out the stats. You have to add your interpretation to it to show that you're an expert. Otherwise, you're just sharing someone else's expertise. So like if you're sharing the Royal LePage one, like leverage that as like, hey, here's some great data. Here's what it means for you. Here's some great information. Here's what it means for like the people in this neighborhood. Because like that's going to be at a provincial city level. But like if you can bring it down to like, hey, if you bought a house on this street where the average price is this and home prices are up this much, now your home's going to be worth on average this much more. Like really show them that you know what you're talking about in the area that you work.
Right. So Andrew, if you were to put together 2 to 3 things that agents absolutely should and should not do right now, what would that kind of to-do list look like?
Don't do anything in person. Just straight up. Market updates, like literally just keep giving them updates on what's going on in the real estate market. You don't have to make predictions. You can say like, you can do like the generic predictions of like, listen, people are still going to buy and sell. We don't know right now if there's going to be like a rush because everyone who waited is going to go. Like, we don't know if it's going to be a buyer, a seller, or kind of like a middle ground market when it does open up. But what I can promise you is I'll give you the truth of what it is as it's happening. So I would start doing messaging like that. And the other thing is just promoting things in the community and supporting local. Like everything you can do to support people locally right now, from businesses to people who might need help, anything like that, coordinating things to like getting stuff out to people, or even like housing related. Because like as a real estate agent, you should still try to keep a lot of your messaging in real estate, like finding housing for frontline hospital workers. Because like, for instance, one of our neighbors is a paramedic. They got an RV, parked it in the driveway, and he's living in the RV, so he doesn't have to go near his kids right now. Like that sucks for him. But like there's a lot of people also don't have an RV they can do this. So you could almost like take that initiative of helping people find maybe some short-term housing or different things like that. But just like, how can you support people locally? And I mean, yeah, it's not going to like a direct line to business, but it's just one of those things that, I mean, one, it's the right thing to do, but it puts you out in front of people and they show that you genuinely care about the community. And that's what you need to do right now.
Awesome. We had a question from Cynthia from King. She's saying, how do you break the ice with prospects with whom you didn't get the chance to develop any relationship with because of the time when you received the lead? I'm guessing maybe this is a good time to kind of engage with new technology like video conferencing and that kind of thing. I mean, I know it's not ideal, but.
Yeah, I mean, I would start with just offering them the market update. Like, too many people overthink these things. Like, just go straight, like, hey, we're sending out this market update to keep people informed on what's going on. Would you like to get it? Like, short and sweet, and just say, hey, like, we're going to give you the no fluff answer of exactly what's going on in the market as it's happening. If you'd like to get it, just let me know. And then it just starts that kind of going, and you're, again, building trust. And I would try to send that out like at least once a week. Like,
Right.
if there's enough data to like, and stuff happening to send it out more than that, I would. I mean, people get worried about like sending too many emails. I mean, before all this happened, the joke used to be in email marketing circles of only email people on days you want to make money. But I mean, it's not that much different now, and people are reading every email. Like, we look at the stats of ours, like our open rates are up like 70% sometimes right now. Like, everyone's reading their emails, everyone's reading everything. So if you have something valuable to send, then do it. Like, if you want to do an ad promoting, like my buddy owns a great bakery, I've been promoting his stuff all the time. It happened. Like, it's a great, if you're in Newmarket, Nutmeg Bake Shop, check them out. They're great.
He actually, I have to say, I second that. It's very, very good.
Yeah. But like, I like promote them and like send an email being like, hey, they're taking online orders now. Like, don't be afraid, just have nothing to do with real estate, but just promoting someone in the community doing it. And they're going to love that. Like, now you're building that relationship with that person. Like, I know what I've started doing is like, for some of the local businesses, like we don't even work with local business. We only work with people in the real estate industry. I've just offered to help them set up some of their online systems. Like, I've helped a couple people just set up like an online store so they can take orders online. And of course, what all those business owners are doing now is they're like, hey, I got a real estate buddy. And now they're introducing me to that real estate friend. So like, how can you be of service to someone right now? And they're going to start referring you if you're just helping them out right now. Just don't condition it on that.
So your dues would be basically, you know, making sure you're spending time on creating valuable and appropriate content. Anything that's a value add, reaching out to your network, not necessarily to push your business, but to say, hey, listen, check in, how are you doing? Engage with them, see if there's anything they need.
And even like the calls you're making, because like everyone's making those calls being like, can I help you? Like, that's too general of a question. So like, when I would be making those calls, I would be making it, and same with like social, if I'm doing it via social, because a lot of people will use like DMs to do it too, where they're like, hey, how can I help you? Come with a specific offer. Like, hey, we're making a list of restaurants that are still open that we want to support. Do you have any local restaurants you would like to make sure gets added to the list? Right. And now you're helping them kind of promote something that they like. And then now you just go into your regular conversation of checking up and how they're doing and seeing like if there's any specific things you can help with them with as well. Right.
And so question for you, because I actually had this come up a few days ago from with a Canada Post question. And this is from Connie LeBeau. Just before the pandemic hit, she had designed a postcard to put into mailboxes. And she's just wondering if direct mail, unaddressed mail is still appropriate to do at this time.
I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, it's one of those things where people are like, I have heard from people who are nervous because they're unsure, like,
they'll have to Lysol it first, right?
Yeah, like, yeah. Just because of that, like, little bit of uncertainty. I mean, personally, I would probably pull back on it, and then just do it digitally. And you could even like so like if this was your postcard, I would literally just like hold up this in an ad to the neighborhood and be like, hey, like I was going to send this, but I don't want to now. But I just wanted to tell you because I thought it was valuable what's actually included in this. And then just like show it that way, because then it also shows you kind of taking that step if you're thinking about them. Also, if you don't have this book, you should get this book. It's fantastic. Never Lose a Customer Again. It's one of my favorite business books. So if you don't have it, you should go get it.
Do you have a list of business books that you've been working on?
Yeah, I'd have to pull it up. I can send it out.
Okay, that would actually be really interesting to see. That'd be really.
We got a lot. I mean, I very rarely read them. I'm mostly listening to them now. Although if I'm being honest right now, I've kind of pulled for like pandemic, I've pulled out of reading business books and I'm going to like just stuff that like takes me out of it, like
right.
An escape. So I'm
reading, it can be overwhelming for sure.
I'm reading The Wheel of Time, which is super nerdy.
Hey, whatever works. We had another question about finding videos on what to do during this time and great content. This is from an anonymous attendee, but I do want to say that, you know, we do spend a lot of time at Royal LePage posting a lot of content with the help of Just Sell Homes to our Instagram and Facebook channels. So please keep an eye on those. We make things shareable so that you can easily share them to your own channels. And we also have the Daily Digest that is going out. And with the Daily Digest, we have multiple different sections, but one of them is staying sane. One of them is a resources and how-to section. So I think in today's, you'll get to learn how to cut your hair without totally messing it up from home. Your hairdresser is probably having a heart attack right now, but anyway, just pretend I didn't say that. But there are a lot of resources you can find there that you can share. So anything, if you're, for example, working with someone who has kids at home and they're trying to maintain a work-life balance, there are a lot of kind of educational platforms to help keep your children occupied, recipes to cook with your kids at home, that kind of thing. I know, Andrew, you've been digging up a lot of content that's really helped us.
Yeah, and I would also encourage you, make that content yourself. Like,
yeah,
it's not that hard to shoot a video. Like, you don't need a really high production quality. You don't need like the nice Yeti mics, which are great, but like all you need is this. And you can just hold it like this and shoot a quick video of like, hey, here's something we're doing with our kids. Here's this. And it works. Like, people aren't expecting, like, the running joke now is nobody's wearing pants anymore or dressing up or anything. Like, it's fine not to look great. You just joke about it. Like, man, like, I haven't had a haircut. Like, I just did one recently, and the host, so I was actually in a webinar today, like 10 to 3:50. And the host was joking. He used to get his haircut every single week. And now he's on like week 5 of not getting his haircut and he's losing his mind. But he jokes about that. But then you go on and he's got perfect hair. But this is a guy who used to getting his haircut every week. So
right.
Don't be afraid just to like joke about that. I mean, if you're joking about like things going on in the situation, you just gotta be careful what it is you were joking about. But like, yeah, your haircut being terrible is fine to joke about.
So, I mean, getting back to video and using, say, Facebook Live or whatever platform you want to use to shoot video, we just actually included this as one of the checklist items on a new PDF we just released. That is, you can find it within the Royal LePage Daily Digest from today. It's the Royal LePage Realtor to-do list for during the pandemic. And one of them is really engaging with Facebook Live and just checking in with your audience. And, you know, you don't have to be super polished. It just has to be human, natural, relatable. But Andrew, there are a lot of people that aren't as confident as you are when it comes to using video. So what would be kind of your tips when it comes to shooting yourself on video?
So first, like, if you see the first video I've ever done, like, it's terrible. So if you're in my Facebook group, I think it's called I know it's called the Wheelhouse. So the Wheelhouse, like, if you search the videos, you'd look for the one where I look like I'm 12 years old. That's the first video I ever posted online when I sold real estate. And it is, without question, one of the worst videos I've ever seen. And I just kept doing it and I got better. But one that actually really helped me was I was at a conference and I was talking to Tom Ferry, and him and I were just like talking normally like this. And then someone came up and asked if he could do a video for the group. And it was really funny because, like, so he pulls out his phone, he's talking, and then he goes, "Oh, hey guys, it's Tom Ferry." And he just, like, everything about him got like twice as loud, twice as everything. And I'm like, wow, he's really coming off, like, at me stinging there. I'm like, he's really coming off as just this like inauthentic kind of guy. Like, it didn't seem right. And then online, I went and watched the video and it seemed like the guy talking to me. Because, like, you know, when they say like the camera adds 10 pounds, it also like cuts your personality in half. So when you come on video, just make a point of, like, you know, you have to like physically puff up your chest a bit and then speak louder. Like, speak louder. Like, the way I'm talking right now into my mic, this is louder than I normally talk. Like, we have a white noise machine on, so I don't wake up my daughter, who's a couple of rooms away right now. I don't normally talk this loud, but I know if I don't, this is going to be like a super monotone and dull conversation that we're going to have if I talk normally. So
right.
Make sure you just like bring yourself up a bit, and then don't be afraid to like shoot 50. But normally I'd say don't, just like shoot it, post it. And then the next time you get a little bit better. You learn angles. Like, I didn't know that you shouldn't film with it like this. And then you have like that upward angle shot. You know, I should have
those nostrils though.
People taking their nice selfies. You got to go up and down a little bit.
Yeah.
But like, at the end of the day, don't overthink these things. Like, people, especially right now, are not expecting polish. Like, look at the guys doing like the late night shows like Colbert and Kimmel. Those are not doing high production things. And those are like $1 million operations right now.
Right.
You don't have to make this super polished piece of content. just go out and do it and just start posting it.
And so when it comes to length of these videos, I guess it really depends if you're doing, say, just a quick market update or a virtual tour of a home.
Yeah.
But what would you say is like the optimal?
I say ignore
Matter for Facebook?
length. No, any content at all. I always ignore optimal length for everything. Mainly because I find if I say like, hey, your video should all be 5 minutes. So like in YouTube, if you want to get like official, the optimal length for YouTube videos is 7 to 12 minutes. I hate telling that to people because then they have a 4-minute video, they try to stretch to 7 minutes, and then it's a terrible video. So my ideal length is as long as you can provide good information. So if you can do a great 7-minute video, do a great 7-minute video. If you're out of things to say in 30 seconds, just stop the video at 30 seconds. Because the second you start adding in that extra, like where people talk like, oh, a human's attention span's so small, they're not going to watch long videos. Like most of the time, the reason that is because most content out there sucks. That's why they're not watching long videos as much, is because most content out there is terrible. But if you have good content, like I've run ads that have been like 2-hour-long videos that people watch, but they were good ones. Like our best performing video on YouTube, right? Well, so our second best, so our best one is actually like 20,000 people on YouTube. And it's like 7 minutes. Our second best, which is also thousands of people have watched it, is something like an hour and 15 minutes long.
Wow.
But it's valuable information for people looking for that topic. So as long as you can give something valuable without adding in fluff for the sake of extending it, then you just go for it and don't worry about length.
Right. And when it comes to orientation of the iPhone, I'm assuming that if it's just you, you do it vertical, but if you're actually walking through a house, you do it horizontal. Is that?
No, because everyone's watching on their phone. So
okay, so vertical all the way.
Yeah, like 5 years ago, I would have said like, you're crazy to do vertical video. And I literally used to do presentations where I like made fun of people who did vertical. And then very quickly it changed because everyone watches on here and this is vertical. Worst case, like, yeah, they could do that, but like people aren't pulling up Facebook on their TV for the most part. Like some people might do YouTube, but it's not a big deal. So again, at the end of the day, it's what are you comfortable doing? If you're more comfortable filming it like this, like the reason I like to film like this sometimes is because I have that habit where I like what I'm doing right now. I'm actually not looking at the camera. I'm looking at myself on the screen. Everyone does that. So don't feel bad if you keep doing that. Is if I can hold it like this, I can block myself from being on the screen. And I know now to actually look at the camera. So that's one of the reasons I hold it this way. Because like, if you see, this is the camera here, I'm not going to see myself talking and distract myself by not looking at the camera. So I do it like this. So I actually make sure, just if you're going to do that, you got to add a little air here. Because if you hold it tight like that, you might accidentally turn off the recording.
Press a button. Yeah. Yeah. So Opal is asking if it's a longer video, so say it's like a 7 to 12 minute video, will she have a problem emailing it then? If at the end of Facebook Live, she wants to save it and then email it out, will it be too big of a file?
Don't send the file. Send the link to the video wherever it is. So we like when we record videos, we don't just email an attachment because that also is a trigger for spam filters that a large file is probably a virus or something like that. So you're more likely to end up in spam. And we'd rather bring them to some type of content that we have, like a platform we own. So like bring them to our website because then we can retarget them with more ads. Bring them to Facebook because then we can retarget them for just watching the video. So there's more options you have if you can bring them to someone else. So I never just, I try to at all costs avoid attachments and emails when it's for marketing purposes.
Okay. And Kim is asking if you're posting a virtual tour to Instagram, obviously it's going to shut off the video after a few seconds. So like 10 to 15 seconds, right?
So that's on a story. You can do 60 seconds on your personal, and I think it's 15 minutes if you go to IGTV.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So what I might be correct on IGTV. I don't do my own, I do like my personal account, but like the JustSellHomes, I have Jen on our team who's great. I have her do Instagram. She's my Instagram person. She's fantastic. But really what I look at like for what we do for luck is like our show, like my show Over a Pint is most episodes are well over an hour long. So we'll just do like a quick highlight of it, almost like a trailer. And then we'll do the link in the bio. And then you go to the bio and you can go to the full video and then we'll send them to YouTube where the full video is.
Okay. Okay, perfect. That makes sense. And just for everyone to keep in mind too, we did release in the COVID-19 Resource Center on RLP Network, there is a how to leverage Facebook Live for virtual open houses. It's a file that gives you a step-by-step walkthrough of how to use Facebook Live. So please take a look at that. And if you have any questions, just reach out to us at marketing@royallepage.ca. We're more than happy to help you with that. And of course, we're huge proponents of using it, especially during this time. Miriam Amin had a question. What do you think for first-time homebuyers about hosting a seminar on Zoom? And would you target your database or advertise on Facebook for said seminar?
I would definitely do it.
Okay.
But I wouldn't say this or that. I would do both. Like, send it to your database, advertise it on Facebook, advertise it on Instagram, put it on Google, like anywhere you can do it, do it. I mean, obviously there's budget. So if you can't, like, you have to look at, like, obviously budget. Like, as much as I'm saying, like, this is one of the best times ever to run ads. Like, if you have the budget right now to pay for ads, it's some of the best results you can get. And I 100% be like, you should be doubling down. Like, clients of ours with the budget, but I also know it could be 6, 7, 8 months until people see money again. You have to make sure you're going to survive. If you can't afford it with time, which a lot of people have, unless you're a parent with kids home like me, time is not necessarily a great thing, but like putting time onto what you're doing, you can make up for lack of ad spend. Ad spend will get you there quicker and get you faster results, but you can also do it organically, like get into Facebook groups and talk about it, message people about it, and go out that way. But yes, definitely do the seminar, and then don't say like, oh, should I do it to these people or these people? Do it to everybody. And don't even just with your like first-time homebuyer seminars, people have a tendency to only target like the age of first-time buyers. Don't do that, because a lot of people will target their parents. Like, we used to run ads. This is what I used to do when I saw, because I loved first-time buyer seminars, is I'd want to run ad to like the people at that age, and I'd run another ad to their parents. And the parent want to be like, get your kids out of the basement, send them to my first-time homebuyer seminar. And then they'd start tagging their kids to actually register for it, and it would encourage engagement. So it's a great way to do it. Again, just when you're doing the ads, when you're doing the content, you have to mention what's going on in the world right now. Don't just be like, hey, here's what you can do, and then no mention of what's going on. You always have to like hit the pandemic stuff head on and how it's affecting things.
Right. Okay, perfect. Dana Soretsky is saying, she just had to step away for a minute, but did we say it's not a good idea to do any drop-offs right now? And I think getting back to our unaddressed mail, that kind of thing, approaching people face-to-face, definitely not something that we're recommending right now.
I mean, personally, I wouldn't. I mean, if it's your past clients, like your like A+ database, and you're dropping something off, I mean, sure. But like, again, I would call them ahead of time and ask. Like, there's no reason you can't just be like, hey, I have this, I'd love to come bring it to your house, is that okay? And then be like, don't worry, I'll bring Lysol wipes too. Like, you don't.
Well, it sounds like she had some treats to deliver for Easter, which is such a nice thought. And I think she was going to just place it on their doorstep and text them that it's there. I mean, that to me would be no different than what a lot of, delivery people are doing to stay safe and, maintain social distancing. So I'd say with that, if it's people that and have worked with before, that's fine, but it's more.
I would give them a heads up that you're doing it. Like, yeah, it would have been great before this to do surprise. I mean, I love doing surprises, but I'd say call them ahead of time right now, just to be safe.
Awesome. Lise is asking, what are some good Facebook groups to join if she wants to kind of, stay connected? Obviously, I saw your smile. I know what's coming, but go ahead.
The Wheelhouse. It's tactics and strategies for real estate agents. So from like, if you want to learn, the Wheelhouse. We also have like a paid membership group. That's great too. But then you also want to look locally, just look for like, type in the name of your town and see what groups are out there. I mean, especially if you're a mom, like the mom groups are always huge engagement. I'm sorry guys, you probably won't be let in. But yeah, jump into as many local groups as you can. And then for real estate, I mean, there's a lot of different groups out there. Some are like, the best ones are actually mostly secret. So you have to like get invited into them, to be honest. But I'm very biased because I run my own group and I think it's great.
Yeah, Andrew does actually supply a lot of really great content, so I highly recommend you join his group. I'd also take a look at our daily digest emails, because at the very bottom is a list of all our Royal LePage channels, as well as our closed Facebook groups. And there's a lot of really great networking and idea sharing and support going on there. So please make sure that you join those as well. Robert Weiss is saying, by saying 6 to 7 months for ROI on ads, is that the time you think this pandemic cloud will loom over the industry? That is a very big question, and one that we
I will
probably don't have the answers to.
I'm not an expert. When I'm saying 6, 7 months right now is like Trudeau said, like, it's going to be a few months till we start getting back to normal. And then the reason I said 6 or 7, because even if you start working day 1 and get a day, it could have 60, 90-day closings. I mean, it could be 6 months easily till new checks start coming in. I mean, if you have closings between now and then, it's different. So but in general, Facebook ads, you always have to think of it that way, because and this is all online leads, like the average online leads between 12 and 18 months away from moving. So if you're going to run ads, the majority of them, you have to consider that you have to carry the cost of it potentially for at least 6 months till you start seeing return. Yes, you could run an ad today, like before the pandemic, you could run an ad today, and we've seen it happen where it's like you run an ad today, you talk to someone, you write an offer the next day, and you get a quick deal. We've also seen people who it's like 3 months till the first deal. And then they end up with the same conversion rate over the long term. But you have to think about that as like, it could be a while. And especially right now, we know it's going to be a little while, whether that's 2 months, a month, 6 months until you can actually start doing deals. I have no idea. Like, we got to wait and see the news of the flatten the curve and all that stuff. But yeah, my initial in my head, it's at least 2 months. And then again, I'm not an expert, but then you got a couple months till you would get paid once you start doing deals.
Right. And I feel like it's such a fluid situation that every day we're getting kind of new information. Yeah. So it really does vary, but I think, we're in this together. We'll come through it together. It'll be a tough time, but at the end, there will be buyers and sellers looking for the experienced agents that, experienced and knowledgeable agents such as yourselves that will be able to help them in the process. So, I just saw another question come up. Is there a spot, Sylvie, is there a spot where there are some RLP articles for people that I can share? So Sylvie, what I'd highly recommend doing is looking through our Facebook channels. So go to our RLP Canada Facebook page. We do share a lot on there, as well as our Twitter and LinkedIn. So there's some great kind of how-tos, home design, spring cleaning is obviously high on a lot of people's priority lists, mine included. So I take a look there. There's a lot of great content there. I'm seeing a lot of ideas coming up in the chats as well. People engaging with their neighbors and their communities, which is really great to see, and it makes me very proud to be part of this awesome group. So thank you very, very much. Are there any other questions?
I'll answer anything you guys have.
Yeah, Andrew is at your disposal. So Andrew, tell us a bit more, while we're waiting for another question to come in, tell us a bit more about what JustSellHomes actually, can do for agents and what typically agents come to you for.
So we basically kind of have two sides to the business. The first one is like, we train you how to do all of this and help you do it and help you implement it. Mainly that's done either one-on-one training, or we have our paid Facebook group. Normally you guys get like a 40% off discount because we're a preferred supplier. But I would say don't even take that right now, because we're doing for like the pandemic, just a pay what you can offer to join. So you could pay $1, and as long as we're doing social distancing, you can be in that group, get our Facebook ad course, get all that stuff. But it's literally like $1. Like, I think our average is like $29 people are paying to join. I checked earlier, like we've had people pay $100, but we've had a lot of people just pay $1. So for our paid group, you can do that. The other side is just doing it for you. So we basically take everything we talked about and we just do it for you. That's the bulk of our business, is doing it for people. So right now though, again, you got to be careful, doing like, if you can afford that, because like generally speaking, you guys have a discount, so it'd work out to like a $1,400 a month investment to start if we were doing it for you. And if you can afford that, then now's the time to double down on ads, because like the results are incredible. But you got to be able to afford it. And I don't want someone to like put themselves at risk and not be able to carry that for a little while, because it could be a bit of time.
And Andrew Jean is asking again, what is the name of your paid group?
So it's called the Wheelhouse Elite, but if you just try to join the group, it's not there. So go to the free Wheelhouse. So it's called Wheelhouse Tactics and Strategies for Real Estate Agents. And then there's a video at the top. Actually, I can also put, if you want, the link in the group.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, I'll put the checkout page. Again, it's just pay what you want. And honestly, like, I mean, pay what you can. Like, if you only want to put $1 in that checkout, like, put $1. I don't want anyone stretching to like join our group. Like, that's not why we have it. Hold on, let me just throw that in the chat.
And I'm seeing also Hazel is asking about direct mail. And I think what we kind of agreed upon is that maybe just pausing it for the while would be wise, simply because a lot of people are, actually a lot of people, I'm nervous about opening up my mailbox, I'm not gonna lie. More areas to Lysol. I would probably pause on that and focus on online. Andrew, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, I will also say I am biased to online at all times.
Right, of course, naturally.
But like, yeah, I would do, like, if you were doing like direct mail to clients, I'd switch to email. And then if you were doing like general, just like mail outs, I would just do like hyper targeted Facebook ads.
Okay. I see we have some more questions, so let me just go through those. In the meantime, Melissa's asking how often best practices for posting a mix of, both personal and professional content to social media accounts. Is there like a best practice for number of times per week and that kind of thing?
I mean, best practice officially is like every day. Some people will tell you 3-4 times a day. I mean, I'm not going to say you got to post 3-4 times a day. I don't even post that much. The best practice is at least posting every day during the week. But I mean, in terms of the mix of business versus personal, I mean, there's not a right answer there. Like, as an example, like if you have kids, that's the easiest way to get engagement online ever. But some people don't want to show their kids on social, and that's fine. But you can do business posts with personal like in it. And what I mean is, like, you showing your personality is the personal thing we're talking about. So you could have a 100% business focused page that still shows your personality, right? Like, when I do my show Over Pine, like, one of the reasons Over Pine is we want personality to come through of who I am, but I'm not talking about like just the personal side of my life. Like, you don't have to think of sharing personal as I'm sharing, letting you into like, see who my family is. Like, you could never show your family and have the most personal thing out there, but it's like showing your personality. Like, don't be afraid to make jokes that might offend people if that's the type of thing you do. I mean, obviously there's a line, but you want like my main goal with my online marketing is when people come and find me and they see me in person, that they're like, you're the same guy I was seeing online. That's the personal side of online marketing, is that when they see you in person, they should feel like they already know who you are.
So Melissa's follow-up question makes me laugh just because I've seen it a lot. It's really taken the internet by storm. What are your thoughts on TikTok? And is that something that you think is kind of appropriate as maybe a fun comic relief type thing to do? What are your thoughts on TikTok, and have you engaged with it yourself?
I created an account.
Okay.
A lot of like 13-year-old girls on there, so I got off quickly. I thought it felt weird. But I mean, the same was for Snapchat for me. Like, I felt weird being on Snapchat at the time. But like, I know people who do. I don't know anyone getting business from TikTok right now. But one, like, if you have fun, just do it. But from what I'm talking to people a lot is, a lot of parents are joining TikTok to see what their kids are doing. So there are actually a lot of parents on TikTok, especially now that like they're getting involved in their kids' TikToks because they're so bored.
Right.
But there is time to like build a relationship on there, but you have to look at like, what's the highest best use of my time? Like, I would say for most agents, Facebook or Instagram is going to be a higher return than TikTok, but that could change. Like 2-3 years ago, Instagram wasn't as good as Facebook organically. Now Instagram's better than Facebook organically. Like, things change. Snapchat would have been better than some platform like Instagram, but then Instagram brought in stories and it's better now by far. Like, things change, it's fluid. So like, pay attention to TikTok if you have time. Don't, if you're not, like, the worst thing agents I find can do with like social is trying to jump on like 10 different platforms all at once. Like pick one or two, do really well. If you get into a groove and it's kind of like running like a machine, then look at adding in something.
Right.
But like, don't just add Pinterest because you thought that, you know, someone said do Pinterest in a course one time. Like, actually think like, does this make sense for the people I'm going after? Is it a good use of my time? Or like, maybe the better use of your time, instead of like trying to figure out TikTok, is doubling down on email, doubling down on Facebook, or doubling down on Instagram stories. Like Instagram stories right now, organically, so without the paid side, Instagram stories are like the most effective way on social media to get clients right now.
Right. Okay. Switching lanes a bit. Ian Wilson is asking, you know, his practice is largely focused on commercial and investment properties. Is that kind of an area of focus that you also can work with?
We work with some commercial and investors right now. Like our client, like right now, actually I have a great one. If you're doing investment, one of the best campaigns we have right now, we're getting like everywhere from 50 to 70 cent leads on it, is investment webinars for landlords of just like, what do you need to know during this time? Because a lot of landlords are really nervous right now of like, are people going to stop paying rent? What recourses do I have? All that stuff. So we're just doing like informational webinars. And what's great about that is it's building up a list of landlords who are essentially investors.
Right.
Commercial side right now, because we have the numbers, we work with a commercial developer who builds boutique office condos in Ontario. And all our campaigns there, we're getting better results. I mean, deals are a little bit slower. But yeah, it's great.
And so when it comes to, you know, getting leads, what are some of the best ads that your clients are running to get leads? Like, you know, is it market updates? Is it VIP services? Like what are you seeing is kind of the best practice there?
Right now it's listings and like market updates, or things around like that landlord thing of like information of like, how has this stuff affected it?
Right.
And doing it that way. So like, if you're a landlord, work with landlords, how has this affected landlords? If you're like, I know some teams that have leasing agents, how does this affect tenants? Like what, like basically straight informational, what's the situation, the niche you're going after? How has this affected them? Do a webinar or an informational piece on that effect.
Right. And I just, I saw one come in from, I want to say it was Jason Singh. Jason Singh was asking about pre-construction ads in the time of COVID. Now, obviously with construction, particularly, you know, Ontario, for example, it was essential. Now they're kind of halting it a bit. Things will be delayed. Is it still appropriate to market pre-con developments, or should people be waiting until after this is over?
If you can afford it, I would. What we've found in our numbers that we've looked at is Google's dropped off a lot on pre-construction, where Google used to be one of the few places I liked better than Facebook for pre-con. But not as many people are searching for pre-con like they were. But again, putting it in front of them, building that list. But the biggest thing, again, like with the other ads, is mentioning what's going on. So like calling out like what the builder's doing. Like there was a builder recently in Brampton who like eliminated all in person to their sales, and on day one sold 80 units because they did everything virtually. Like you can still do it, but you have to call it out and like, what's the process that's happening now?
Right. Okay, awesome. So just a time check, we have 7 minutes left and we've got a few more questions to answer. So we'll try and get through them as quickly as possible. Keep in mind, you can always join. Again, a lot of people are still asking about the wheelhouse. Check out Andrew's website, JustSellHomes.com. And Andrew, correct me if I'm wrong, there is a link to the wheelhouse Facebook group on your site.
We changed it. I'm just going to put it right into the chat right now.
Okay, perfect.
Changed our
just putting it
homepage,
into the chat.
There, now it's in that's the free one.
Amazing.
And then there's a link in there to join the paid one if you want.
Fabulous. Okay. Now, Tammy Andriakos is asking, are hyper-targeted ads more expensive when it comes to a cost per lead standpoint?
Yeah, I mean, the more you target down specifically, the smaller your audience is getting. So you're going to pay more, but in theory, it's a higher quality lead. So it's usually worth it. But yeah, like we've run hyper-targeted ads that have been like, so normally if we're doing like cost per like click, we can often be like, even bad ads are like $1 click, and you can get down to like 19, 20 cents, 50 cents, that type of range. I've done really hyper targeted ads at $20 a click, and I felt it was worth it. But it's because it was so like, I was literally targeting a specific building with like, that was only 300 people of that building I even wanted. So like, but those people who clicked on that were like the perfect candidate for what I was trying to accomplish with that ad.
Right.
So when you do go like hyper targeted, like you're going really specific, don't worry too much about like cost per, like the standard metrics. I mean, like standard metrics get thrown at the door when you go with a really small audience.
Right.
But it's still worth, like I do them all the time.
And so when you gather that information for gather that lead information, contact, whatever, would you say is the best platform to use to follow up with that lead? Is it texting? Is it calling, email? Like, is there any insight you can give us to what performs better?
All of them. Text, email, phone, do it all. So like we use follow-up boss for a lot of our clients. And what we love about that, so like one, call them. If they don't answer, don't leave a voicemail, text them, and then email. And then text and email and call until you get a hold of them. Like I basically, generally speaking, say, unless they tell you to stop following up, you keep following up. Like I was actually talking to a friend of mine recently who she got her first deal from an online lead and they didn't answer her for 4 straight months, but she took my advice and kept following up. And she got a $1.7 million listing in an area where the average price is 600 grand. So like, but literally it was 4 months of them not answering the phone, them not answering text or email. And then one day they just answered. But unless someone tells you to stop following up, just keep following up. People are busy.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Who do you follow as, this is an interesting question. It's a good one from Melissa Salazar. Who do you follow as mentors? Like who are your kind of real estate gurus? Who do you recommend that people follow more information and inspired?
I've found like 1-2 people, like, so like I will go through like deep dive fields. So like Joey Coleman, example of this book I mentioned earlier, like I deep dived him for like a month and then I kind of got the information I wanted, then I moved on. I try not to actually follow too many people at any one time, to be honest, only from like information overload. Because I more want to focus on execution now, because like there's 1,000,001 things out there to do, but you got to look at like 1 or 2. So for me, there's a guy that I follow named Nicholas Kuzmich, who's like the top Facebook ads guy in the world, like 100 grand a day on Facebook ads type of thing, like brilliant. And like his stuff works. So I follow him a lot. But generally I try not to follow too many people. Like I've pulled back on following Gary Vee a lot because it was just too much. I mean, I thought he was a lot better 4 years ago, but I think he's still great. But I don't follow as many people anymore because now you get too many ideas, you're never going to do them. Like if I get an idea, I will normally stop following that person until I implement that idea. Then I'll like go back for my next one. So like today, if you're listening to this webinar and you got a bunch of ideas, like don't try and do them all. Just pick one and do it. And then at the end, once you actually do that one thing, then come back and look at notes again. But like the second you're going through your list of notes and you pick one thing you want to do, just shut everything else off for a little bit until that one thing's done, or you're never going to do it.
Fair enough. So we had one comment from Sylvie. Sylvie was asking, what about Videolicious? Sylvie, we love Videolicious. They're a fantastic app, really easy to shoot and edit the video right from your phone. And make it branded. So highly recommend Videolicious. Andrew, Jason Singh was asking, when advertising on Facebook, is it better to have a landing page or just to fill out your information?
Facebook lead ad for most, because it pre-fills it in and you get a better cost per lead. It's a slightly lower quality lead. Seminars, things like that, we find better with landing pages. But outside of seminars and in-person events, which you're not doing right now, but like Zoom webinars, stuff like that, we'll go to landing pages for those. Almost everything else we're doing with Facebook lead ads because you get a better cost per lead.
Okay, and last but not least, because I know we have only 1 minute left and I'm very conscious of everyone's time, do you have any podcast recommendations?
Over a pint?
The shameless plug, ladies and gentlemen. I love it.
I'm consistent about it. No, I mean, I don't listen to as many, like I more listen to audiobooks than podcasts. Actually, there's some couple good ones that aren't real estate listing agent lifestyle. Dean Jackson, fantastic. Dean Jackson's one of the most brilliant real estate marketers out there. I'm a huge fan. A lot of what I do is based on Dean Jackson methodology. Let me look for my podcast. I actually do want to plug some non-business one or business ones that are non-real estate. Where is it? Oh yeah. So one's called How I Built This, with Guy Raz. If that I don't know if that'll actually come, but anyways.
Yeah, maybe add it into the chat when you have a second.
How I Built This with Guy Raz. Basically, he interviews top business owners, and he's just like, how did you build this? So like Boom Chicka Pop, if you know that popcorn company, they did like an hour long, how did you build Boom Chicka Pop, which is literally a guy saw a Facebook ad for like a popcorn maker, and he just started making popcorn from this Facebook ad, which then him and his wife turned into Boom Chicka Pop, and they're made like $300 million. Like, it's just a really interesting interview series of like top business people. So yeah, I don't honestly, because again, back to my thing earlier of information overload, I was just listening to too much stuff and then not doing any of it. So now I try to pull back, and I go until I get like one or two good ideas, implement them, then I go listen for more.
That's an absolutely awesome strategy. I love that. It is now 1 o'clock. It's not 1 o'clock. It is 5:01 p.m. I don't know about you, but it is the Thursday before a long weekend, and I'm sure that there is a drink or alternative beverage waiting for you in your fridge. Andrew's saying there's more than one, who knew? But I wanted to take this time to really thank Andrew for all of his expertise. Highly recommend you check out his website, JustSellHomes.com. Andrew is a Royal LePage preferred supplier, which means perks for you. And he has really helped us at Royal LePage when it comes to marketing strategies and with our social media. So Andrew, really wanted to thank you for your time. And for answering all the questions, and have a safe weekend, everyone, and stay healthy. Take care.
See you guys.